Hello, and welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ.
And I'm Chip.
And today's the day where all hell broke loose for Chip, so we're going to try to give him a little bit of a break today. It's interesting the way we're seeing things happen because here in Fall River, as we know, money is no object. Because when they say we're short, we don't know. The fire department has been meeting, well, I should say the fire union has been meeting with the mayor, as we reported in a previous show. They're definitely bringing all the business to East Providence, because obviously Fall River restaurants don't qualify. And the rumor mill, and some of the sources are very reliable, Chipper knows them quite well, have said that we're looking at 175 firefighters now. And the administration says, we don't have to worry, that's not going to affect our budget. You need to explain something to me. What kind of math is this? I'm kind of lost. First off, we were 16 million short. Then we were 10. Then we were 5. Now we're 3. And we're going to add on 22 firefighters into the budget. Using the city's budgeting of $100,000 a firefighter is $2.2 million. So we take the 2.2 and we add it to the 3, and somehow or another, it seems like we're coming up that we're only short 0.8, or at $800,000, because the addition of the firefighters to the budget are not going to make any significant change. I'm confused, Chip. Do you have any idea what? I can't answer this.
Well, yeah, it's shenanigan, Flanagan math. We have, this city has never been accountable since going back to '91 when we did an audit of the city. This city obviously doesn't have a clue. I don't know how we could be running a city and starting with a $16 or $17 million deficit, then a few weeks later, after there's some political pressure, it's down to 3. Then we add 2.2 million to a $3 million deficit, and we come out with an $800,000 deficit. So obviously, I don't know how their math is. I do know where they're getting the money. They're balancing the budget on the taxpayers and the city workers. I just spent all morning in a meeting discussing the health care proposals by the mayor, which is going to shift $9 million of cost to the pockets of the people who serve this city and who have served the city, the retirees, some of whom have been retired for 30 years and have very meager pensions. It is disgraceful. I am angry, and I would like to go on a tirade that the FCC would probably put me in jail for, because this mayor has shown he has absolutely no regard for the people who serve this city. And it's rather ironic, since at the next full city council meeting, I will be giving each city councilor a copy of the minutes of the Insurance Advisory Committee meeting where Will Flanagan, high school boy, or even younger than that, was given health care by this city when we weren't required to, because we had a city employee who had a son who wasn't eligible, but he wanted that son protected, and we extended him that and allowed him to get a single plan for our mayor. And all these years down the road now, he turns around and he completely eviscerates the health care of the retirees, some of whom are in their 80s and 90s. It is unconscionable. It shows he has no regard for anyone. And as far as I'm concerned, I had always gone on record and say we may have philosophical differences and political differences, but I really didn't dislike him. Well, I'm announcing it here on Spindle City Straight Talk. I don't like you anymore, Willie.
Well, you're honest about it. And, the thing is that that's not the only thing that happened today. I guess the city administrator, Kathy Ann Viveris, had some information about offsets. I don't know what these offsets are.
Yeah, there's another attack on the people who have the least ability to protect themselves, the elderly. The people who retired before 2008 because of their limited income were given what they call an offset. So they actually pay a lower premium for their health care than the people who retired after 2008. And it helps them a little bit with their prescription drugs and was told by a very, very reliable source, and it hasn't been released yet because they wanted to surprise us, that our administrative assistant, and I have been told that the mayor who was on board, wants to eliminate that offset as of July 1. So what that translates to is that every other city employee and retiree is going to begin to bear the burden of the mayor balancing the budget on their back as of January 1st of next year, where the people who are the oldest are going to begin to bear that burden on July 1 of this year. And again, take advantage of the people who don't have the ability to fight you, but I will be fighting you.
It's honestly, it's amazing, and it's a shame. I mean, you think about some of the firefighters, some of the police officers, some of the school teachers who have been on, the city's health plan, retired for many years now, some 20, some 30 years, and this offset helps them afford that and makes them not have to dish out so much money. And then we're going to take that away from them right under their feet and knock them down and say, too bad. I mean, is this what we're coming to?
Well, they get the double whammy. They get to pay more for premiums than they are now, and they get to pay 4 and 5 times more for their prescription drugs. And again, this is a direct attack on the retirees, the people who, as you said, have served this city for many, many, many years. As I said, I have one individual who is 95 years old, fought in the Second World War, defended his country, spent 40 years on the fire department, has a very meager pension, which I will add this little fact. The COLA, cost of living, is $360 a year. That's less than $1 a day. That COLA, which is capped at 3% of $12,000, hasn't changed since the 1970s. Yet, our politicians, who now all, in chorus say, oh, look, this plan is good enough for me. I don't mind this plan. Their COLA is capped at $16,000 a year. So, as I said on a previous program, we will be making a lot of phone calls to our Boston delegation, to our federal delegation, and to the city councilors and the mayor. This is an unjustified attack on the elderly. They're being penalized for living too long. And in the United States of America, one of the richest country in the world, when people are told, your problem is you live too long, that's unacceptable.
Well, that was also the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate's argument about the Social Security Act. And that's why they raised the retirement age to 70, because the Social Security Act was created during a time where the average person died between 48 and 52, and you had to be 65 to retire. Now, all of a sudden, people are living well beyond 65, and they're draining the system. They're not willing to say that, well, we shuffle the money around to build bridges and create jobs and all of this other stuff, but that's okay. You're living too long. So, and some of the things that were listed in the Obamacare program, the Affordable Care Act, excuse me, let me use political correctness, actually had the placement, they didn't call them death panels, but they called them medical review panels that would determine whether or not treatment was viable for a patient. And what they meant by that was, you're 65 years old and your kidneys are failing. Do we want to give you, who's 65, a kidney? Or do we want to give somebody who maybe is 35 a kidney, or 25, or 45? And what will the benefit of your life be? How much more will you produce for them? And that's what they're doing. And those decisions are made every day. I've worked in medicine for 25 years, and those type of decisions are made every day. But now they're putting it part of the health insurance program, so the health insurer makes the decision, not the doctor. And that's a scary thought. That's a scary thought. And that's what's going to happen with this health plan they're giving you. It's going to come down to dollars and cents. Always.
It always does.
Yeah.
Because obviously, a lot of people like to delude themselves about America. We are the best at everything. We're number one, but we're nowhere near number one in healthcare. Granted, if you go to Boston, you go to New York City, you go to the top hospitals in America, we have, the best in the world. We can stack up with anybody. But when you look at overall care, we're about 30th. As a matter of fact, I just saw a statistic that talked about where it's the safest to be a mother. And in the Scandinavian countries who were 1, 2, and 3, Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, we were 34th in the world. So, we have a very, very expensive healthcare system, but it doesn't really give us the best healthcare. Many of the countries that provide much better healthcare have socialized medicine. And one of the problems with the healthcare in the United States is we perceive healthcare as a profit-making business. And there are some things that should be nonprofit. It should be for the good of the people. I think our Constitution said life, liberty, life is number one.
Right.
So to protect the life, if government should be spending money and ensuring something is secure, it's the ability to live a life. And when we begin to get situations where HMOs and doctors and panels begin to say, well, you know something? You're too old. You're 65. We're not going to give you a kidney. Well, suppose if you got that kidney, you would have lived to 100. Suppose the 35-year-old guy that needs the kidney was going to die at 40. I mean, we're going to play God?
No, we're going to open a casino. It's going to be the organ casino.
Well, that's the answer to all our problems.
That's
you
right.
Know that.
The casino's always the answer. But it's interesting because healthcare has become such an issue here in Fall River alone. I mean, our city is literally divided right down Bedford Street, in case you haven't noticed that. Everyone who is south of Bedford Street is a Primacare and Stewart Healthcare system. Everyone who's north of Bedford Street is South Coast Physicians Group and South Coast Hospitals. And never the twain, never do they go over to the other side. Doctors from Primacare and Stewart do not go to South Coast Hospitals. Doctors from South Coast Hospitals and, Truesdale Clinic don't go to Stewart. And they're actually having patients decide if they want treatment. And they're also picking and choosing what health insurance carriers they have. Stewart went through them and they got rid of Senior Whole Health. So a lot of people who had Senior Whole Health that were Primacare patients can't go to St. Anne's. They can only go to Charlton. And Charlton's like, well, we'll keep that one, but we'll get rid of this one. And if you work for Charlton and you have the Charlton Health Insurance Program, if you go to a Primacare doctor or a Stewart physician, you have to pay a higher copay. So again, it's down to money, and we're just dividing the city down the middle, literally along Bedford Street, and saying you're on this side and you're on that side, and that's the way it is, and you have to accept it. And that's kind of sad that we're coming down to that point where we can't choose the best physician for us because they're not at the right hospital. I guess that's why I like you, go to Boston all the time. Yeah,
and there's another issue that they're attempting to eliminate Boston hospitals for most people because of the economic burden. The GIC and these new plans have what they call tiers, and the hospitals are tiered. So all the Boston hospitals are tier 3, and the Fall River hospitals are tier 1 or 2. So the co-pays for admissions to those hospitals and for services are lower. It may be $250 for your deductible when you're admitted to Charlton, but it's $700 if you go to Boston. The doctors down here may be $25. The specialists in Boston may be $45, depending on the plan you have. And as you said, this is getting like Showtime and HBO fighting over boxing. The fact is that Showtime fighters won't fight HBO fighters and vice versa, so we don't get the best boxing matches. And now, that may be irrelevant when it comes to the scheme of the world. But when we have to make those decisions about health care, when we have to say that I can't go to the best doctor because I can't afford it, there's something wrong with the system.
Oh, yeah, no, there's no question about that. But then again, we have another system problem here in Fall River. And I believe you and I both have this lovely report called a Munis report, which is a report on municipal spendings and budgets. And you'll never guess what this report is on. Potholes. The potholes of Fall River. And who gets paid? It is standard practice for the law department of the city of Fall River to issue a denial letter. They quote various, chapters and verse of Mass General Law, and they don't pay these claims, unless you're Natalie Mello, in which case they pay your claim to the point of $1,800.06 and 22. I mean, $1,806.22. Come on. What kind of foolishness? Oh, excuse me, I'm wrong. It's a little higher than that. But nonetheless, if you're Natalie Mello, the head of the Bank Street Neighborhood Association, they pay your insurance company for your claim. And the really funny part about all of these claims, very few are individuals, unless, are you ready for this? Guess what privilege you get if you're a city councilor? We pay for the pothole claim that's not even your car. And Pat Casey was able to get that done for her. Isn't that wonderful?
And without her insurance company filing the claim.
Exactly. She got it directly.
Hers was settled.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's amazing. I mean, I'm looking at this, and you're looking at the names, and they read of the who's who in city government. Although the majority of them are different insurance companies.
Yeah. What I think we would like to see, and we're gonna investigate this further, obviously. What I would like to see is the turnaround time for claims. I know people who said it took them a year or a year and a half to get a claim, and they were denied initially. I want to see what the turnaround is for Pat Casey's claim, for Natalie Mello's claim, for this Valente too. I think he's related to someone, an attorney who used to work with our attorneys, the Crayola School of Law.
Yeah. And look who else got paid right away on their own, Comcast. Hey,
yes.
So all people that are somewhere or another connected to the city. And then, of course, you've got all the insurance companies. And all the insurance companies had to file litigation to collect this. So if you got a pothole claim, give it to Pat Casey. Let her file for it, because obviously we're not going to get it. The city doesn't pay them. They won't pay them for me. They won't pay them for Chipper. They won't pay them for anybody else. But this is how our law department runs. We go into litigation for everything. And a couple of these even say on it, litigation. So, I mean, who's litigating it? Who's the lawyer who's litigating that? Yeah. That's what I want to know. Who are we paying? Because we know it's not Liz. We know it's not Chrissy Diorio. So who is it?
Well, obviously not doing too well, because they're losing most of these litigations that are here, because they paid out. Actually, the largest claim here for $8,928.88, which we might as well just round it off to $9,000, because it's 8-9.
Yep.
So $9,000 was giving to Providence Mutual Insurance, and the litigation was brought by Providence Mutual. So this is probably a whole bunch of claims from people they insure that filed, and they just took them all and did it basically as a class action type litigation to get all their clients' cars repaired. But again, the city has a history of not paying its bills, and when they do pay, it takes them forever to pay. And that's not what we pay our taxes for.
It's also not good business.
No. Well,
let's be real. If you or I decided that we're not going to pay our bills, all right, our credit rating is going to look like crap. Okay, nobody's going to want to do business with us, and we're going to be out of luck. But like the state, the city, they don't deficit spend. Remember that. We just don't pay the bill.
Well, they actually do deficit spend.
We know that.
We know they deficit spend. Now, we actually have sworn testimony that they did. But the fact is, that's one of the issues that, unlike you and I, who, when we pay our bills, we actually have to have money, because we can't pay bills with monopoly money. The city of Fall River doesn't pay its bills, and they say, okay, after you hound me for a while, give me enough time to raise the water fees, the taxes, and all the other fees in Fall River, and then I'll pay you the bill. And we don't have that luxury. You know, I can't tell the electric light company, listen, you're gonna have to wait a year for you until I raise, until I go and borrow money from my neighbors to help pay my electric bill. So that's the travesty of it all.
It's just getting to be, absolutely futile at times. And, I sometimes sit here and I get depressed. I honestly get depressed. And I'm thinking, I'm bringing all of this information to people, and we have a great deal of supporters, as you know. But they say to me, well, what's changing? I said, you know what? You're right. Nothing is changing. And they're not afraid of the fact that we know it now. So what type of politicians do we have that they don't, they don't care?
Well, the problem is they continue, they live in a delusionary world, but they continue to get elected. Let's see if now that we've gotten into, this very foreseeable position, which we predicted a long time ago. Last year's budget, we said the budget was full of baloney, and now we've proven that it was.
But wait a minute.
Let's see if there's any.
Hold on. The city said that we were in good financial status. Remember that?
That's right.
We heard that directly.
They also said that we had a $17 million deficit, a $8 million deficit, a $7 million. Now we're down to $3, and then we added $2 million of liability, but we went down to less than $1 million. So we can trust the city.
Yeah.
The checks in the mail in the city of Fall River promised us. We can be totally confident that they are telling us the truth, which
if you believe that, I got the deed to the Braga Bridge for you. Let me tell you right now.
Yeah, it is a tragedy though, because the people that suffer are the people of the city. The fact is that they're looking at pay as you throw. They want to eliminate DPW.
They're not looking at it. They're not looking at it anymore. Okay, and this is something that the mayor's office doesn't want people to know, but they're not looking at that option anymore. It has been brought up on various sites, websites, and in various discussions that a pay as you throw is $1 or $1.50 a bag. Wrong. We're looking at $2 to $2.50 a bag to get rid of the trash, no matter what decision is made on the DPW. So whether we privatize or we don't, or whatever, we're still going to pay for trash removal.
Yes, and that was the pay as you throw that the mayor, during the political debates, said was absolutely not a consideration.
Right.
And yet the total ridiculousness of this thing. $2.50 a bag in the city of Fall River. They wonder why people just run out of this city. Now, the people don't have anything in this city. It's going to turn Fall River into a giant dump.
Yep.
Because people are going to throw everything out on every abandoned lot in people's backyards. There's going to be trash littered all over this city, because if you think that these people, who some of them have 3 or 4 barrels with 5 or 6 bags in them, you think they're going to spend $25 or $30 a week on trash bags? That's ridiculous.
Well, they had somebody who spoke on that during those hearings, who turned around and said, well, in Somerset, what they've done is they've got it to the point where they recycle everything, and that one bag is all they need for the whole week. Where are you coming from? I mean, come on, get real. Half the stuff that we throw away is not recyclable. And I mean, I recycle a great deal in my home, and I look for everything that's got a recycle logo on it or whatever, and I put it into the recycling, and I still have 2 or 3 bags a week, and there's only 2 people in my house and a dog.
Well, I don't know where that person lives in Somerset, but he must live in a very special part, because I know many people who live in Somerset, and actually I had a friend who I was very close to that lived had a house there for a long time, and the fact is there were always 5 or 6 bags, because it was a family of 4 or 3, and there was always 4 or 5 bags. And the other thing is, you got to look at the difference. There aren't 3 deckers in there, you know.
Right.
But we have this ability to look at the city, and it's almost like we don't see what, you know, we just have this convoluted perspective. I had a city councilor tell me how they're going to market the city, and I'm going, what is wrong with you? I mean, the few dollars that they have left are going to be gone. They're going to go to the maximum 2.5 tax rate, increase the water fees. I said, what kind of business are you going to attract? They said, you know something? And she said, well, we're working on marketing the city. I said, well, you tell me, when you get the guy that can market Fall River and bring business into a city where people don't have money, because that's the reality of economics, I said, I'm going to bring him down to Appalachia because we're going to open up a Gucci shop
Exactly.
down there, and we're going to make millions with those people that are making about $12 a week.
You must have gone to the Kenny Fiola School of
Yeah.
Marketing and Management.
Exactly, yeah. We're going to bring business into a city where people can't buy anything.
I know. And, you know, the sad part is, you know, they had a job fair at City Hall, and I was listening to some of the employers, and I listened to the mayor. And the mayor said, I can feel for you. I know what it's like to not be able to find a job. I know what it's like to not have money. When he was a kid? I mean, I don't understand that. But one of the biggest and most interesting things that I found out was restrictions that are being placed on potential employees from the employment side. And it's going to make it difficult for anyone in Fall River to get a job. I'll tell you now. You better start listening to your, you know, talking to these potential jobs, because tattooing is a lovely business in Fall River, except that the businesses are now saying, if you have a tattoo, you're not hired. Including, now get this one, including the U.S. Army. The Department of Defense, effective May 1st, issued an order that said service personnel cannot have tattoos on their neck, face, arms, legs, nothing.
Yeah, previously there was a regulation that it couldn't show above the shirt.
Yep.
And they allowed them to have tattoos, you know, on the arms. But I believe that's a new regulation. But obviously, you know, these kind of things are they're difficult. But it's the whole perspective of the city. Why do we have people that continue to think that we can market this city when nobody wants to look at the fact that we have to start getting people in here who make money? We have to start giving people some jobs so they can actually make money, so they can spend money.
I agree. You know, this isn't a porn palace, and we're not selling trash. So with that, thank you for watching, and check our next episode this week. It's been great to be with you. Have a great day.